lot of people own rental properties. A lot of people want to make more money on them. And we're going to reveal a little secret that I don't think a lot of people know about how to make more money. Actually, I guess save money on your taxes when you own a rental property. Jonathan Frizzell joins us from Cost Segregation Services Incorporated, a firm that performs engineering-based cost segregation studies for commercial properties, which also includes rental properties that you may own. So, well, first of all, welcome, Jonathan. How are you?
Good afternoon, Ben. Doing well, thanks.
Yeah, well, it's good to see you. And for those of you guys who have never met Jonathan, Jonathan is the only guy who shows up to a radio studio in a bow tie. So I think
I wish more people did.
I
have to tell you that much right now.
I think we're gonna have to double our
new rule.
Yeah.
Well, it kind of reminds us how life is imperfect. So.
I don't know. You did a pretty nice job tying that thing, buddy.
Thanks, Ben.
So, Jonathan, why don't you explain what cost segregation study is and why it can be very important to people who own rental properties?
Well, cost segregation is an IRS-approved service, and simply what we're doing is accelerating depreciation on all types of buildings, including apartment buildings, single-family rentals, strip malls, self-storage facilities, you name it, we do it.
So then let's just even take a step back. So the depreciation, when people own investment properties, they get to, I'll let you explain it, but they get to depreciate the asset.
Yeah, typically over 90% of the commercial property owners out there, and that includes single-family rentals and apartment buildings, are on a 27.5-year life or a 39-year depreciable life, straight-line depreciation.
And so when you do this type of study, which is actually engineer-based, right? This is not like just a quick blip on your tax return.
That's correct. The IRS does prefer and firmly recommends they want a third-party independent engineering-based firm.
And by firmly recommends, I can only imagine what that means with the IRS.
That's correct.
So what do you say commercial buildings? And that, I mean, this is just you could be any homeowner or rental homeowner, I guess.
Yeah, we're the only firm in the country that will take a look at a multiple of single-family rentals as well, and we can reclassify that property. And to answer your question, cost segregation is nothing more than a reclassification of misclassified assets. So we're going to take it from structural, from 1250 property, and we're going to throw it into personal property in 1245. Per the IRS code. So
it's just essentially knowing how to do the taxes correctly. It sounds like most people are probably doing them wrong.
Well, no, they're actually doing them right, but the most popular way is the straight line depreciation. But you can, you can get a cost seg study, you can go ahead and reclassify and give them smaller depreciable lives, which is 5, 7, and 15 year. And believe it or not, if you have enough of the little single family rentals, we take a look at those as well.
How do you know if a property qualifies? You say you guys will take a look at single-family residences, and you're the only firm that does them. So how do you know if a property qualifies?
Well, frankly, it's all in the depreciation schedule. Even if the client or the CPA doesn't think so, it really is in the depreciation schedule. I have a building cost basis of the actual building itself and, of course, the land. We can't do anything with the land, but once we take a look at that depreciation schedule, I can go ahead and run a no-cost predictive analysis, and we'll get something conservative for them, the client, and the CPA can count on.
So let's just make sure I get this. So if you own a commercial building or any type of investment, real estate, I suppose, any type?
That's correct.
Then you can actually use this cost segregation study to accelerate depreciation, which means you're going to save money on taxes.
That's correct. Whether they've been on title for 5, 7, or 15 years, per the IRS code, it's any type of commercial property after 86 when you generate 87. So even if half the depreciation's gone, we still want to take a look at it, and the odds are really good that we still can bring some value to the client.
So does that mean that at the end of this 5, 7, or 15 years, that you don't get to depreciate it anymore? So you're really just kind of front loading cash flow. Is that what it sounds like? Is that right?
Actually, you're front loading the actual depreciation. Good point. If it's a newly acquired actual property, you'll get the benefit in the first 5 years. If they've been on title for a minimum of 5 to 7 years, they're going to get all the benefit in the first years. And that's called catch-up depreciation, which is an IRS term.
Oh, I like that we're going to get into IRS terms because when you don't hear about something very often, you kind of start going, what is this guy doing in the back of your head?
Right.
Who should consider having this type of study done?
Well, frankly, anybody that owns any type of commercial property or apartment buildings, or even if they have at least at least 6 to 8 single-family rentals. I do a lot of owner-user as well, and when they go qualify for an SBA loan, oftentimes they'll give us a call and we'll go ahead and run an analysis. They're not going to have a depreciation schedule because they just acquired the building, but really it's any kind of property, whether it be for-profit golf courses, wineries, manufacturing, self-storage, apartment buildings, you name it.
Probably tough to depreciate wine while the value is going up.
Yeah, we love those build-out buildings, though, and those tasting rooms.
Yeah,
we can get as much as over 20% into 5-year property, which is a good thing.
Is that because it's like a restaurant?
Good point. We do restaurants as well. Yeah, so there's a lot of value in restaurants. You can get up as high as up to 25% into 5-year instead of 39-year.
So I mean, you basically take the property and all the stuff it's kind of built with, is what you were saying.
The components.
The components.
Yeah, this is a very distant cousin of component depreciation before Reagan and Tip O'Neill took it away in '86. This is more engineered based.
So what information is needed then in order to what should people be thinking about? What information is needed in order to start this type of process?
To keep it real simple, frankly, it's nothing more than just a depreciation schedule, which is in their tax returns. And if it's not in their tax returns, the CPAs can certainly provide one. The beauty about it is we're strictly an engineering firms. We'll run a no-cost predictive analysis, something that's conservative and count on. And then, of course, upon engagement and delivery of the cost seg study, we're there every step of the way with the CPA to make sure that the application is run turnkey. That's oftentimes the problem we see, is that once they look at the cost seg study, sometimes the CPAs don't know what to do with it, and we're here every step of the way to make sure they can apply it.
So how long does the study take, and what is it? I mean, you're studying just the tax return, right?
Frankly, people send me their tax returns every day, and all I need is just the depreciation schedule.
Just one little piece.
Yeah, they'll give me a thumb drive sometimes because they don't want to look for it. But frankly, it's usually a one sheet per property, unless it's a real big shopping center, and there's probably multiple pages. So
does anything have to do with the actual building itself?
Well, it's a good point. To give you an idea, Ben, 5-year property would be the millwork, the carpeting, the wiring, the lighting, the specialty plumbing. 7-year depreciable lives would be the actual awnings outside. As I'm looking out in your
I love how you're pointing to things in the studio, like we have beautiful millwork in here.
Yeah, well, you've got great lighting in here, and of course I could attack the walls. It's not, also, what's really kind of fun is you can get inside the walls because there's a lot of wiring inside those walls. I'm going to get that into 5-year property too, only because the IRS says we can.
Right. I love that that's how you end every sentence, because the IRS says we can. Proves you're not lying, I guess.
Well, it's just funny. It's I do a lot of seminars up and down the West Coast, and they just don't believe it to be true, but it is in the 2004 IRS code. But individuals, companies, privately and publicly, have been doing it since '97.
And how long does this take? I mean, is the study done pretty quickly?
We like to say 4 to 6 weeks. When I'm on the deal, I usually get it done within about 3 weeks. If it's multiple properties, generally it would take 4 to 5 weeks. I won't tell you what my record is, because then there's an expectation. I've had people actually come to me late in March and want to get something done for the 15th. And this year it was the 17th of April, and we got them done on time, but we'd rather not do that. Accelerated.
I know those people in the mortgage world. It's typically, our other lender totally botched this. We need to close in next week. Is that going to be possible?
Right.
Well, we told you should have started this a while back. Speaking of that, is it possible? We're here with Jonathan Frizzell, and Jonathan, is it possible to then go back in your taxes if there's an apartment building owner? Can you go backwards?
Actually, yeah. Again, it goes. Yes, you can. Per the IRS code, you can go back any kind of property after '86, meaning January of '87. So oftentimes, what I'll do, I'll take a look at older properties that have been in title for quite some time, and they don't think there's any depreciation left. And so oftentimes there is. My record for a building is 2/3 of the depreciation was gone, and I still brought value to the client.
It's pretty impressive. And these are people who've actually owned the property quite a long time.
You bet.
A lot of apartment buildings downtown, Capitol Hill. I mean, some of those are very long-term owners.
Yeah, you betcha. And again, it has to do with the seasoning of title, not the actual age of the building. It has to do with when it was. And the CPAs call it a date of service, when it was actually placed into service. You and I, we would call it acquisition date or occupancy date. Same thing.
Jonathan, we have to go to break here in a few seconds, but people can find you from our Facebook page, too, at facebook.com/Brashenomics. Hey, if you own a lot of properties or have apartment buildings, I mean, it seems like kind of a no-brainer to check it out, right?
Absolutely. It's real.
And again, you just need a page from a tax return.
Nothing more than just a depreciation schedule.
I would bet that most people will send you the whole thing because they don't know what they're looking for.
Well, I'm happy to look for it.
No matter how many pages?
No, I'm up. My record is a 150-page tax return.
You got a lot of records. They're gonna put you in the Cost Segregation Hall of Fame, Jonathan. Hey, thanks so much for joining us. Stick around for a few minutes. We're gonna come back and chat a little bit more. In fact, everybody's coming back, including Ann Casey. We'll be back after this break. You're listening to Brashenomics.